a race that basically went green, other than for a caution on lap like 2 or something like that. But other than that, 2 hours and 9 minutes, but 2 hours and simple, clean road course racing. Well, can't complain about it. But I still think we're going to the oval next season, which I agree with, even if it is a worse race. And yeah, that's a little bit of a sticking debate, but I do think the Brickyard 400 is coming back next year. So congratulations to Michael McDowell for winning what I think will be the last Indy road course race, but very important to him. And that is what we're going to talk about. Michael McDowell wins the Indianapolis road course. It was an old school NASCAR race. Well, not really. Modern racing. Shout out Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Shout out Ryan Blaney. Shout out Joey Logano at the beginning of the race. Those guys were wanting to make some contact, to say the least. But long green flag runs, no cautions, run the race backwards. If you didn't have track position, you were absolutely screwed. That is, again, part of the next-gen car, because I don't think you can move your way through the field, and all the cars are very similar. David Reagan put out a tweet, actually, where he was praising Michael McDowell and also saying thanks to the next-gen car, that this wouldn't be possible without it. And I think that gives you a little bit of insight into just how equal that these next-gen cars really are now. You've seen RFK win the last 2 races with Chris Buescher, and then Ford again, 3 wins in a row, but this time with Front Row Motorsports and Michael McDowell. We're not talking about Penske. We're not talking about SHR. We're not talking about Joe Gibbs. We're not talking about Hendrick. We're not talking about Trackhouse. We're not talking about RCR. I'm naming like all the big teams here. We're not talking about any of them. We're talking about RFK, which was basically on its deathbed before Keselowski came in, and Front Row Motorsports, which has notoriously been one of the better backmarker teams, essentially. And they have won the last 3 races. So, yes, the next-gen car does play a big role into this. It has equaled out the field. The driver with the most wins this season has 4 wins. Then it's 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, and then 1 all the way down to 13th place. Stenhouse has won. McDowell has won. Chris Buescher's won twice. And a lot of guys also haven't won. Kevin Harvick, Keselowski, Wallace, Suarez, Gibbs, Elliott, Alex Bowman, all guys that you could expect that maybe would win a race. They have not won yet. So the field is definitely equaled out thanks to the next-gen car. And I think you have seen that today. Now, there are some negatives with the next-gen car as well. We've seen this. Road courses and short tracks. Dirty air is just way more prevalent at road courses and short tracks with this car than with the Gen 6. And NASCAR knows that, the drivers know that, the teams know that, but it seems like it's a very hard problem to solve because the cars have a lot more grip than the Gen 6 car. It is more like a Australian V8 car on a road course. That's just a lot more grip, and so bigger tires, more grip, harder to move. I don't know, but it just seems like lap traffic plays a bigger role, track position plays a bigger role. All these things play a bigger role into these road course races with the next-gen car. So you have to run it in a certain way. It starts with qualifying. You got to be insanely good at qualifying because you need the track position to be able to call the race, especially now that NASCAR has taken out the cautions at the stages, which I agree with, because whether you like it or not, if you are a newer NASCAR fan that doesn't like 70 laps green, which, there are those out there that don't like that, understandable. You used to run 300 laps green back in the day. But if you didn't have those cautions, I made this complaint in recent years. It makes it way too simple in terms of strategy, and it also punishes you for actually wanting to get stage points and win and run up front, because you can't do that if you want to win the race with cautions at the stages. So not calling the cautions at the stages is why I like. You're going to see the same thing at Watkins Glen. I think it's actually going to be even more prevalent there because it's a high-speed road course, so I think the dirty air is going to be even worse. I think track position is going to be even more important. So again, qualifying, very, very important next week at Watkins Glen, because I just don't see how you can come from 15th or 20th in the field with no cautions at the stages and being able to make your way up. Now, there will be a more likely possibility of cautions at Watkins Glen just because of the high-speed nature of it, more high-speed crashes with the walls and everything there. There's not a lot of runoff, so we'll see how that goes. But it was an okay race. Like, this race was okay. Not great, not bad. It is what it is. This is what it is. It's just we know we have issues with the next-gen car. It's just that you can't really fix it right now. And I'm hoping in the future that is fixed. but I don't know the answer to that because a lot of these guys are equal on speed, and the car just naturally has a lot more grip with some of the decisions that have been made, like the bigger tire and the even the 5 gears and everything. There's just a lot more grip in that car. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But Michael McDowell wins today in what was like a 3-way showdown the whole race between him, Chase Elliott, and Daniel Suarez. Tyler Reddick was my pick, but he never really got up there. He got up there for a little bit, but then he fell back. And then there were other guys like Kyle Busch was showing some speed, and then he had an engine issue and basically ran the entire race with like I think like a cylinder down or something like that. So he was actually catching Suarez, Elliott, McDowell and he was going to make it a 4-car showdown. He literally was like a second and a half behind that group before his engine issue hit. So it kind of been a 4-way battle, and Kyle Busch was pretty fast. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. Whoever was in the lead, whether it be McDowell or Suarez, or I don't think Elliott ever got to the lead, but Suarez or McDowell, they would never be able to pull away. It was kind of like this accordion effect where everyone would kind of like just come back together between the 3 of them. And that is how the race played out. There was other guys doing some strategy calls. Denny Hamlin won stage 2 just by running really long. He wasn't going for the race win. He was just going for a playoff point because, again, there was no hope of a caution. There were some crashes. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. running in a Jensen Button like 3 times for some reason. Ryan Blaney intentionally dumping AJ Allmendinger again for some reason. And then AJ wasn't able to get back. AJ, who was expected to have a fast car today, was qualified poorly and just was never that good. Again, no one that didn't qualify well. The only guy that really, I think, made his way through the field was actually Ty Gibbs. And that was after getting spun on the restart after the first caution. So again, like lap 6 basically. He gets spun, has to go to the back of the field, and has to drive his way all the way up. I think he ended up right outside the top 10. So that was the only car I saw that was actually able to really go all the way through the field with some, fight through that dirty air and that traffic and that speed and get the strategy and all that stuff. So that's kind of how the race played out. It was a 3-way showdown. It comes down to the last pit stop, and just like last week, a team makes a mistake to ruin their chances for a driver getting a race win. I can't say like last week that Daniel Suarez would have won because he was not leading, and he would have had to have passed Michael McDowell, which was going to be very difficult, but Suarez was fast, and unfortunately the hose got caught. And they couldn't rotate the hose around when they were switching to the other side of the tires. Jackman had to go back around. That cost him about 6 or 7 seconds. And Suarez, who was running in second after giving like a bump to Chase Elliott and was about a second and a half behind McDowell, ends up being 10 seconds behind Michael McDowell. He ended up closing the gap to I think around 7. He got to like 6 as well. So in that clean air, he was able to close. So I definitely think if he just had a normal pit stop, get out 2 seconds behind Michael McDowell, would he have been able to get to him? I think so. I think it would have been just like the stage 1 and stage 2 where the 3 of them would have accordioned together. And we'll talk about Elliott at the end. But that's what I thought would have happened. Suarez didn't do that. Elliott comes out 3.5 seconds behind McDowell with around 30 laps to go. And then from there on, it's those two trying to get through lap traffic and just trying to manage and try to, win the race. And McDowell is managing 3 seconds the whole time, doing a terrific job. And then he runs into some lap traffic. He runs into Mike Rockenfeller in the 42 car, who is just filling in as Legacy Motorsports trying to find a driver for that one at the moment because obviously Graxton's not out there, not in that car. So Rockenfeller, not accustomed to cup racing, is there. Stenhouse is there, and they're pretty hard to get around, which was a little bit, odd. They weren't really letting Michael McDowell go, and I just found that to be a little bit odd. Now, to paint some, a little bit of context into this, is that McDowell and Elliott obviously were on the oldest tires. I don't know what tires Rockenfeller and Stenhouse were on, but I'm just assuming they were probably a little bit newer, not like 25, 30 laps old. And maybe that's why that McDowell, when they got to him, they were fighting for position. They didn't want to let the leaders go. McDowell loses about a second of his lead as he's trying to get through these two guys. and there was a third car there, but I don't remember who it was. But the third car kind of got out of the way. They were pretty respectful. Stenhouse and Rockefeller are racing each other and not getting out of the way. And then McDowell kind of gets past them, but he's struggling a little bit, trying to manage the gap. And then Elliott is gaining. He's gaining. And then he gets up to Rockefeller and Stenhouse with around probably 10 or 9 laps to go. And until 2 laps to go, he doesn't clear them. Which, to me, rubbed me the wrong way. Not just for Elliott, but for McDowell. Because it happened to McDowell too. It took McDowell a few laps to get, not 9 laps, but it took him a few laps to get Rockefeller and Stenhouse out of the way. And that's a little bit more understandable because I guess you don't want to go a lap down and stuff. Maybe, yeah, I get that. But, I mean, it's coming down the end of the race. Your spotter should be telling you what the situation is, or you have a two-way battle back here. Try to be respectful. They just don't get out of the way. And then what's even more confusing is you're already a lap down, and Rockefeller, Elliott goes, I think there's a picture of Elliott going to talk to him after the race. Obviously, Elliott's not going to, like, make it a scene, but he was definitely angry. I would have been angry, too. I mean, Elliott runs behind Rockefeller for 7, 8 laps. He's there. He's like 3/10 there. Now, again, not able to pass him because it's very hard to pass, and everyone's on worn tires and stuff, and I'm not making any complaints for Elliott, but we all saw how hard it was to pass. We saw even McDowell wasn't really pulling away. I just found it very weird that the 47 of Stenhouse and the 42 of Rockefeller did not get out of the way, especially to like a Chevy car. They just kept staying in front of him. Now, when Stenhouse gets passed by Rockefeller, he immediately lets Elliott go. And then Rockefeller, after passing Stenhouse, this is around 5 laps to go, continues to run in front of Elliott, right in front of him, for another 3 laps. And I think that cost Chase Elliott any chance of winning this race. Because as soon as he gets past Rockefeller, he is able to close the gap to around 7/10 before the race ends. He was behind that car for a solid 10 laps. And Rockefeller, you're not racing for points. I did not understand this, and it leads again to a thing I'm talking about. Last week, I don't understand race etiquette anymore. I really don't get it. You are a lap down, and you know that the leader's right in front of you, and you know second place is behind you, and you run in front of him for 7 to 8 laps? I don't understand. You're not racing for points. It's your first cup race. You're not a regular? I don't understand the racing etiquette here. What is the reason for you to be involved in this? And that really did cost us, I think, a battle between McDowell and Elliott. And that's just how I see it. Like, as a race fan, I wanted to see the two of them go at it. Ideally, I would like for them to get out of the way of McDowell. Like, once McDowell gets to you, 5, 4, 3/10 behind you, we should all have an understanding that it's very hard to pass in this car. You know, like, McDowell is trying. Elliott is trying. They're not actively just running behind you because they want to. They want you to get out of their way, to be respectful to the leaders. It's only 7 laps to go. Get out of their way. And McDowell's spotter was the same way. He was on the spotter stand getting very frustrated over the radio, trying to get these guys out of the way. And they just, it's like the field just don't understand that, you know, it's not about, oh, you have to catch me to pass me. No, I can catch you in this car. That's not a problem. The problem is when I get to you, we are all on worn out old tires. We are all on very grippy cars. It's hard, and the dirty air is a lot. It's hard to pass. If I'm the leader, if I'm second place, and I know that I'm in a battle for the win, I want you to get out of the freaking way. And these guys don't get out of the way. Honestly, if Rockefeller did that to me, I would have absolutely lit him up after the race. Lit him up after the race. Because it's not just 1 lap, 2 laps, 3 laps, 4 laps, 5 laps. It's 7, 8 laps of just constantly being stuck behind you where you're not racing for points. You need to get out of the way. I'm going for a race win. Get out of the way because it's respect. It's respect. And I just think there's just the racing between Ryan Blaney and AJ Allmendinger, what Joey Logano was doing today for some reason, I don't understand. Jenson Button and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. going at each other, again, just wrecking each other for no reason. There just ain't respect in the field. And listen, I don't know much about this Rockefeller guy, but brother, I swear to God, if I was in that car and you did that to me, oh my Lord, I would have lit you up. I would have lit you up. I think there's just a massive lack of respect out here. And I'm glad McDowell was able to win the race. I'm a little bit sad for Elliott that he was just stuck. It's not his fault. Like Suarez, Elliott, McDowell, if you guys are stuck behind each other racing for the lead, I get that. But when it's a lap down car, man, I've been ranting about this for, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes. It just pisses me off, dude. Get the frick out of the way. You're not involved. You're not important. Get the hell out of the way. Just get out of the way. We're going for the race win, man. I don't understand that nonsense. I think it mainly is just because Stenhouse and Rockefeller were battling for a position, whatever meaningless position it was for. Stenhouse is locked into the playoffs. Rockefeller doesn't race for points. Whatever the frick they were doing, cool, but it just cost me a potential 1v1 battle for the win. I wanted to see that. And every lap that went by and I saw that 42 car in front of the 9, I was like, what is happening? What is, like, why? What are you doing? It's just so stupid. I just did not understand that. That's my rant for today. I'm going to be ranting about respect and racing etiquette for a while. I think, my God, it just made me so mad. I want to pull up the points real quick. You can see Bubba Wallace is in 16th now because Michael McDowell has advanced. And again, big credit to Michael McDowell. Now that 28-point gap for Bubba Wallace. Listen, I'm being completely honest with you guys. I expect Bubba Wallace to do the same thing he did today at Watkins Glen. I'm not blaming him. I suck at road courses on iRacing. I literally don't even do them, okay? Some people just aren't good at road courses. Bubba's going to run 15th to 20th at Watkins Glen. That's going to happen. It's not going to change. Suarez can easily make up 28 points. Now, he of course, he ran very well today, but he doesn't have to run as well as today. Let's place Suarez in the top 10. Let's place him in 6th, right, for the both stages. All right, that's around 5 points each. That cuts it down to 18. Okay, let's say Suarez finishes 8th. Let's say Bubba Wallace finishes 18th. 10 plus 5 plus 5, that's 20. Next thing you know, heading into Daytona, it's an 8-point gap. And I'm not even saying Suarez has to do something fantastic. He just got to run top 10, borderline top 5. And if he does that, he will cut the gap to something where at Daytona, if you win a stage, you're even. And you can win a stage at Daytona. That's possible. So, Bubba Wallace has to be very careful. I thought that gap was going to be enough, but Michael McDowell winning has changed a lot of things. So, that gap is no longer enough. And going into Daytona, I fully expect Bubba Wallace to either be in 17th or to be in 16th with definitely a not a 28-point gap. That will be less. So, we'll see how it goes. Ty Gibbs is 49 back. He showed speed today. He needs to qualify better, and he needs to run up front and not lose that track position. If he does that, again, there's a chance with how poorly Bubba Wallace might run. If Ty Gibbs finishes top 5 in the stages and top 5 in the race, you can see him gaining 25 to 30 points. That only puts him around 20 points behind heading into Daytona. That's possible. With the stage points, with the chaos that is Daytona, it's possible. For Chase Elliott and for Alex Bowman, it's not possible. They are going to have to win. I said Chase Elliott was done last week. I did not expect him to do what he did today. He genuinely had a shot to win the race if it wasn't for Rockefeller holding him up. So I genuinely think at Watkins Glen, he could win, but he has to win that race. I don't think he wins Daytona because it's too chaotic. You can never predict who wins Daytona. But I think he can win Watkins Glen. If he does not win that race, yeah, that's it. That's it for him in my opinion. But Chase Elliott fans, I would feel more optimistic, positive, because this was the first time I've seen Elliott actually show speed all year. So at Watkins Glen, let's see if he can win. Looking at the race results, McDowell, Elliott, Suarez, Reddick, Bowman, Briscoe, Truex, Larson, Bell, SVG in the top 10, with Busher, Gibbs, Blaney, Cindric, Byron, Dylan, Chastain, Bubba Wallace in 18th, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski round out the top 20. Yeah, this race again was all about like that top half of the field, and like, without the cautions, without the really without strategy either, because you know it was pretty simple what you had to do in order to be up front. It was kind of a quick, fast, 2-hour race. Yeah, that was that. that was the Indianapolis road course. I do believe they will be going back to the oval next year. I'm not saying it's going to be a good race. I do think it's the right call. I think bringing back the Brickyard 400, making that an important race, is important for NASCAR. But will it be a good race? Like, actually watching it? Again, probably, most likely, no, it won't. But winning that race and winning at Indianapolis, it's not the same doing the road course. It just isn't. I'm sorry. Kissing the bricks and all that for... I've never liked kissing the bricks if I win an Xfinity race on the Indianapolis road course. You know, like, that's... Winning at the Brickyard, to me, it's winning on the oval version. I don't know. That's just what, when I see NASCAR in Indianapolis, I don't envision the road course. It's been a good change to get away from the Brickyard 400, because the Brickyard 400 had a lot of negative heat on it. Of course, we get that. I'm pretty sure I was one of them too. But I think this next gen car can, while not provide a good race, it could provide something respectable to the Brickyard 400, and I just think you need that's a crown jewel, and you gotta treat these races importantly. And I want that race back, even if it's bad. That's just my opinion. So we'll see how it goes. Sayonara to the road course race. See ya. Hopefully never again, because there are plenty other road courses. Road America, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, just the two that come off of the top of my head are those two. Obviously, I want Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. I want NASCAR to be in Canada, the Cup Series to be in Canada, at Montreal. I love that road course. I think that road course fits NASCAR perfectly. That could be the road course that replaces Indianapolis road course, if you want to keep the same amount of road courses on the schedule, and bring back the Brickyard. That's just my opinion. So I'll leave it there, guys. It's been a long video because I've ranted on from, lap cars again for a long time. Just lap cars, get out of the way, man. You are important. I don't mean to say you're not important, but in the moment, dude, just get out of the way, dude. Just go. Just get out of the way. It's not necessary for you to run in between first and second for 9 laps. Just get out of the way. Take care of yourselves. I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.